Hello, MIT 812. This is Jason Lin, and I'm going to use this quick video to try to show how you use the GIMP application, which is this guy right here, to edit an image that you might want to use in your final project. Um, here in MIT, we've been talking about using TPAC and using Sammer models and Bloom's taxonomy, but if you're like me, you also have to keep in mind learning modalities because I'm a visual learner, and if I just type what I did, if you're like me, you probably wouldn't really understand what I was talking about. So what I want to do is I want to use the GIMP application right here. GIMP stands for GNU Image Manipulating Program. GNU is just an acronym for an operating system that works out of Linux. Before I could use GIMP to edit, though, I needed to go to Google and download some images. So I went to Google and I got a crown, and I got a scepter, and I got a $100 bill, and I used the GIMP application to create from a $100 bill a multi-layered image that looks something like this. And I can try to quickly show you how to do that as well. So of course, first you need to open up the GIMP GNU program and start a new project. To start a new project, you just press Command N. You'll get a dialog box that looks like this. And what it's asking you here is, well, how big do you want your project to be? And because I want my image to come out in high definition, I'm going to keep these default settings of 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels because it's going to be a digital format. I'm not worried about printing or anything like that. I just want a good digital image. So I'll keep that and I'll say OK. And what it does is, you see, it creates your very first layer. The layers are important because if you mess something up while you're working on your project, you only mess up the layer that you're working on. So you could just delete that layer and then go ahead and rework it without losing all the work you already did. So here's your color palette. My background layer right now is green. My foreground layer, if I wanted to change it, would be yellow. But what I want to do is change this solid green background layer to have a gradient layer. So what you can do right here is choose the gradient tool and start in 1/4 of the image and drag a line upwards like this. And what you will see now is you start to get a fade from yellow to green. So there we go. Now I have my yellow to green gradient background layer, and what I want to do now is add my next layer. My next layer is going to be the overlay of my $100 bill. I'll take my JPEG of $100, I'll drag it in and I just drop it, or you could do File, Add. Okay. But what you see is like, wow, that's a really small $100 bill. So what do we want to do is we want to try to scale this new layer so that the $100 bill goes from one side to the other side. And what I can do is I can right click, go to layer. One of your options right here is scale layer, and you'll see you get that similar dialog box pop up. So I'm going to change it 1920 width so that it will go from one end of this to the other end. And if you click in height, it will automatically scale it so that you don't get bad resolution on it or a stretchy looking $100 bill. Press scale, and now you see I got it going from one side to the other side. Now I can go out and add my next layer, which is my scepter. Drop it in. I don't like which way the scepter is turned, so if I come over here and I look in my tools, there is a tool right here that says a rotate tool. Grab that and come over here and rotate my scepter around to the direction that I want it to be in. And if I come over here, I can scale this. Right here, it allows you to scale your layer. If I touch that, grab a corner of this, I can stretch that scepter out a little bit. It's a little larger now. You got to make sure that you're always going back to grab the tool that you want, though, because you can end up stretching or moving things that you don't want to. So I'm going to choose my move tool and move the scepter right there. Okay. Now I'll go ahead and add in another layer for my crown. And drop it on there. Well, that's a very large crown. So again, we don't want it to be that big. So let's go ahead and use our scaling tool to grab a corner of this thing and shrink that crown down. Because what I want to do with it is I want to try to set it up on Ben Franklin's head here. So let's move my crown in. It's almost the right size, but I want to kind of give it a tilt. So I'll go over here to my rotating tool, grab it, tilt it down a little like that, give them a little flavor. Use my moving tool again, move it where it goes like that, and now I have 4 layers: my background, my $100 bill, my scepter, and my crown. And what's cool about it is you can click on the layers. I can close these down so that I can only see one layer at a time if I want to continue to work. And like I said, if you mess something up, you can always go and just delete that one layer and build it back in again. So now here, I've got all that done. You can do other things. You can add text layers, like right here's your text tool. So what I did in the project was I chose my text tool, I dropped it in there, and when you see it's got these 4 little boxes, you can drag it, make it as big as you want. Here you can type the font that you want to use and how big it is. So you can think on the final project I did something like MIT 812. And you can see that not very well, so select it all. You can change your color right here. I'll just make it white so that we can see it. Say OK. There, that's a nice 8, isn't it? Use my move tool, move it up there. You can do some other stuff with this too, like you can go back inside and you can add drop shadows to it. That was all in here. Right there. I can fix my mistake here. 8, 1, 2, such as that. Now if I select it all, come up to my tools here. Okay. Go to filters, light and shadow, drop shadow. I can add a drop shadow behind there. Choose the color that you want it to be. It could be any color you want. Darker colors work best if you're adding a shadow, so you can come down here and grab something like with a little bit of red hue in it. Say OK. Boop. OK. So now you can probably barely see it, but if I were to move the text out of the way, you can see it back there now. See that? How the shadow drags along with it. There's other ones you can use too. If you don't want to use light and shadow, you can do some other really cool stuff on here, like sparkle effects and lighting effects and things like that. That's what I did. I added the title here, a title here, a title here, and a title here. And then I file, save as, and it'll ask you what do you want to save it as. And because I want it to be something that I can share with everybody, I save it as a JPEG or something like that. And I end up with my final edited photo. That looks something like that. All right, thanks for you guys' time. We'll see you out there.